Good morning. Lesson 2-3, Tips and Markups. So today, I just remembered I don't have my calculator. So today we're going to use proportional relationships to find the amount to pay for a tip or the amount that items are marked up. So if you're ever going to run a business or be in a business, knowing that, it's kind of a big deal. So a tip or gratuity is additional amount paid in return for a service. Okay, so to figure out tips is just like any other tax that we've done in the other previous lessons. You want the cost times the tip percent as a number is going to equal the amount of money that you tip. Okay, so in this case, a bill for a group of 8 people at a restaurant was $125. That's the cost. So we'll just substitute the value of the variable. The group wants to add an 18% tip. So to find 18% as a number, remember 18% literally means 18%, which equals 0.18. And then when we figure this out, we'll have the tip amount. Hang on. So we'll just do these calculations. 125 times 0.18. That means our tip amount is $22.50. What will be the total bill? So the total bill is you have the tip, and then you're going to add, so we'll have our $22.50 plus what we paid for the food, $125. So $22.50 plus $125, $147.50. So that would be the total bill. Why is it advantageous to figure out the tip separately? Sometimes when you go out to eat with other people, like these other 8 people, some people might say, hey, I'll pay for the bill, you take the tip. And then you know how much to pay versus what the whole bill is. Okay, let's do the check on page 84. So Amy wants to tip her hairstylist 20% for a haircut that costs $48. What was her total bill with tip? Okay, so cost, 48. The tip, 20%. 20 divided by 100 is 0.2, but we can put 0.20 if that makes you feel better. And then this is going to equal your amount of tip. Cost, 48 times the percent, 9.60, because it's money. You have to have 2 decimal places for money. And then to find her total bill, take that, 960, the tip, add the cost, $48, equals your total bill. So we got our 960 plus $48, $57.60. Again, no different than when we're finding sales tax and hotel tax. If you're feeling fancy, which some of you are, remember, you can do this addition step in this step. If you're like, Miss D, I just understand this part, don't listen to the next part. You're going to need to fast forward a little bit. But if you want to include this addition part in this part, remember that the cost is 100%. So your total bill would be 100% plus the 20%. Well, what's 100 plus 20? 120%. Times your bill, or your $48 cost, right? And then that would be 48 times 1.20. 48 times 1.2, 57.60. Again, if you're like, Miss D, I don't understand that way, that's cool. Don't do it that way. Do it this way, where every step is laid out. Label your stuff, totally fine. But if you want to include the tip plus the cost, that's the 20% plus the 100% would be 120%. You can do math in lots of different orders. Okay, let's look at this check over here on page 85. Now we're talking about wholesale. So what does wholesale mean? Wholesale means if, let's say, Safeway buys gallons of milk at wholesale, it's going to be cheaper than what they sell you gallons of milk for, because they have to make money to pay their people, pay the rent on the building, pay the power bill, pay the insurance bill, all the things. They have to make money. So they buy things at wholesale, and then they sell them to you for a selling price. And the difference between that is called the markup. Okay? So the wholesale cost for a basketball backboard is $32. If the markup is 85.5%, what is the selling price? Okay, so no different than when we were doing our other stuff. Wholesale is the cost, 32. Times it by 85.5%. Change this to a number, which is 0.855, because divide by 100, we move it twice over. Still got the 32. $27.36 is the markup. This is when it's important to label stuff, because you might just see this number and be like, oh yeah, that's what they sold it for. Well, that would be a loss because they bought it for 32. So now to find the selling price, okay? Remember, if I write, you write. Yes, I'm writing words. I think you can write words. To find the selling price, you need to take the markup plus the wholesale. So the markup was $27.36 and the wholesale was $32. So we got our $27.36. We'll add 32, $59.36. That is the selling price. Okay, let's go ahead and do this example 3 here. Ben's family is shopping for a new car, and the selling price of the car is $24,199.50. Ben researches to find the wholesale cost of the car is $22,100. What is the percent of markup? Well, let's first find the markup. So we need to take the selling price minus the wholesale price. 24,199.50 minus 22,100. The markup is 20. Wait a minute, that seems like too much. Oh no, maybe that was right. No, that seemed like too much. 24,199.5 minus 22,100. Oh, 2,099.50 is the amount of markup. Okay, so we took the selling price minus the wholesale, so that's the amount of markup. Now, if you go back to what we just have been doing, we took the cost, times it by the percent, and it equaled the markup. So same idea, cost times percent is going to equal the markup. Well, we know the markup, 2099.50, and we know the cost. The wholesale cost of the car was $22,100. So we need to times that by some number. Guys, this is algebra. Substituted the values of the variables, and now we need to solve for x. Well, x is being multiplied by 22,100, so we need to do the inverse operation, which is then divide by 22,100 on both sides. 22,100 divide 22,100 is 1. 1 times x is x. 2099.5 divide 22,100 is going to equal 0.095. But the question wanted, what's the percent? So now we have to change this to a percent. So when we went from percent to decimal, we had to divide 100. Now we're going from decimal number to percent. We got to times 100. 9.5%. If all that confused you, rewind, rewatch. That's when our algebra skills come in handy. Okay, so last one, let's do this check here. I'm on page 86. Micah is making jewelry for a craft show. The wholesale cost of the bracelet is $12.50. She sells them for $20. What is the percent of markup? Well, first let's find the markup. 20 minus $12.50. How much she sells them for minus how much she paid for them. So she marked them up $7.50. So the markup is $7.50. And we know the cost, $12.50, times the percent equals the amount of markup. And to solve, do the inverse operation. Instead of times $12.50, we will divide $12.50 on both sides of the equal sign. And here we'll have x, $7.50 divide $12.50 equals 0.6. But we need that in a percent because it says percent of markup. So now we need to take 0.6 times 100 times 100, 60%. 60% markup. Okay, that's when having some algebra knowledge comes in handy. Good luck.